Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to Week 16 of the Fantasy 15 podcast, the official fantasy football podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shavitone.
Well, this week's weekly recap really kind of different. I broke even, but just more, a little bit of money. Another percent much I won even. But basically what happened was Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott didn't do the thing. Elliott had, I think, 15 or 16 points, but he didn't have 24 or 30 points. Saquon had, 8 points. All the money guys just hit it on the head. And bitch of the day, I started off the day winning money. Then it's doing down to nothing. Afternoon game start. Antonio Brown, touchdown pass. I'm like, okay, boom, big money. Him, Josh Gordon, Juju after that shit the bed. So won $30.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about my lineups? You know how last week I sat on here and I said, my last minute lineup, after I'd done all my research, I was just like, you know what, going with my gut here. I made a lineup. It was a lineup that hit all my money. Remember how I said that last week? Well, guess what happened again this week? I am on my way to Soldier Field to watch the Bears play the Packers. And as I get into the Uber, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make one more lineup. And I'm going to enter it across everything. That's the lineup that won me money. That is the lineup that made me the most money for back-to-back weeks. And it propelled me over what I'd lost on all the other lineups. And I've made money now, back-to-back weeks, gut-checking lineups. I can't... There's nothing makes sense about that.
No.
Absolutely nothing makes sense about that.
It's just one of those things you'll wake up one morning, Sunday morning, and go, you know what? I think I'm on this guy, so I'm out. And then, boom. No research done, really. Just, you know what? I think I like Robert Foster a little bit more than Robbie Anderson.
Oh, dude, that's exactly what happened. I had Foster in that lineup. I'm like, you know what? Gut check time. Unloading on Foster. And that was the guy that was just a sheer gut play. So, this week, I'm going to kind of just spill my guts out to you guys. And you heard the kind of the disdain in my voice to say Week 16. I can't believe it. Usually Leighton C and we watch the Thursday night football game, at least the second half as I get over here. And, that's whenever we do a real show prep. But this week, it's different, Leighton C. We bitch every week about how we hate Thursday night football, but now that she is gone, we can't live with ourselves. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, no. And never miss it, really. Because until it's not there.
Yes, that's true. So, on that note, Leighton C, producer, you know what to do. Fantasy 15, a Sauce on the Side production. All right, Mr. Shavitone, let's go ahead and break down our lineups. Let's talk about the guys we really like, guys we really don't like, cheap, big-priced options. This week, I can say that there's a lot of guys I'm really, really in like with. And there's only a handful of guys I'm in love with, which always drags me back to there's going to be a shitload of points scored this week. And there is absolutely going to be a shitload of points scored this week. I saw it in your face whenever I said it. I really think that there's a lot of guys to like, a lot of juicy matchups. We'll start top of the line, top of the food chain, quarterbacks. Leighton C, who is your top dog?
I'm going to go to Deshaun Watson, future Super Bowl 53 MVP Deshaun Watson. Philadelphia, 31st against the pass. It is on the road. That is kind of alarming. But every week, Deshaun Watson is putting up points right now. DeAndre Hopkins is an absolute killing machine. He is a pass rusher by himself. Greatest Thomas game all involved. I love Deshaun Watson this week.
Yeah, I do see your love for
Deshaun
Watson.
$8,000.
Yes, $8,000.
I'm a big fan of these quarterbacks not being at high price right now.
Yes, I agree with that. $8,000 for Deshaun Watson, I think that's a fine price. And this is the absolute funnel. This is the definition of a funnel game. I mean, you have the 31st ranked team against the pass, 11th against the run. You have to love Deshaun Watson. But I'm going to go right at the top. And this is the guy that I think is going to be probably your top scorer this week. And that's Big Ben. And I have a lot of side notes on here. I'll give you a guy and then I'll say also that I like because there is so many options this week. Big Ben, 8,700. Saints defense has been on an absolute roll. But their last game that they gave up 300 points or 300 yards through the air was the last time they played at home. It doesn't matter if you're the road team, it doesn't matter if you're the home team, you're putting up points, you're putting up numbers, fantasy points come to live in the Superdome. Last time they played at home, 377 yards, 2 tutties against Matt Ryan, or for Matt Ryan, and there's no real way to say this, because you look at this defense and they've been playing like men with their hair on fire, but they've had 3 games of 370 yards and 2 touchdowns against them at home. So I really like Big Ben. This is one of those rare opportunities, like those rare moments where I'm going to sit there and look at Big Ben in a road game and say I love that matchup. Also, Breeze, 8,400. He's priced like he would be after 3 straight road games. Hasn't scored over 15 in his last 3. But all 3 have been on the road. And then if you look at his home splits, 21 points, 30 points, 31 points, 27 points, 17 points, 31 points. Like, there is a 90% chance this dude goes over 20 this week. I love it. And especially priced like he's been on 3 road games. Breeze is the man to go to. Latency, cheap price. I know there's a lot of guys there. We have a starting quarterback at $6,000 and Nick Foles. Who do you like?
This week, we're back to Will. We were with Dak Prescott. Last week, gave Dak Prescott. I didn't love him, kind of a gut check. Played awful. Got 7 points. This week, 7,300 at home against Tampa. In the last 3 home games, Dak has 27, 14, and 26. This week, against Tampa at home. For $7,300, I do like the Dak Prescott quite a bit.
Yeah, I do agree there. This is going to be a week where we're just going to sit here and look at each other and say, I like that pick.
And
I like that pick, but...
And it's like, yeah, I do like that pick, but then again, this guy, yeah.
No, and that's how we're going to basically pass the baton back and forth here. Cheap price quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Guys, it's a revenge game part 2. 7,700. Hugh Jackson is on the opposing sidelines, and Baker is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league if you just look at, like, sheer just value on the field and not necessarily look at the numbers. Like, his QBR and quarterback rating have been off the charts. And since there's been a change of power, he has been very, very good. And in fact, his best game of the season came on the road versus Cincy. 26 points against Cincy earlier this season. Now he's getting them at home. Jarvis is finally riding the hot hand again. And I expect that if the Browns get up, they're going to continue to put the foot on the gas and just demoralize Hugh Jackson and the boys. I do like Baker. I love all these options, guys. Like, there's really, there's guys I really, really like, and then there's guys that I'm not touching. And every single quarterback we've talked about are probably guys that will at least see involvement in my lineups in some way. Also, Nick Foles, man, 6,000. The Texans, 3 of their 4 worst games this season against quarterbacks have came in the last 4 games. So it's Texans defense that has not looked that good against the pass against Nick Foles, who is the starting quarterback, going to be getting full team reps all week. So high-priced running backs. Latency, where are you leaning?
Well, this week is difficult for high-priced running backs because there are 4 guys above 7,900 that I just absolutely love with Chubb, Mixon, Elliott, Kamara, and Fournette. One was Ezekiel Elliott. In games where he had 26 or 20 or more carries, Dallas is undefeated. All the games, they're like, 2-6, 2-7 or something like that. Last week, they had 18 carries and lost the game. The key is for them to get him the ball. Tampa Bay earlier this season had a pretty solid rushing defense. Right now, it's 27th in the league. Ezekiel Elliott, team goes as he goes. I think he can go a whole lot on Sunday.
Yeah, I really like Christian McCaffrey, though, man. I mean, he's basically the early season Todd Gurley. Like, 9,300. He is priced up there, probably for where he needs to be. Except now, he's legitimately the only threat in the offense. Like, this team, he's basically the only way they're going to be able to move the ball. If you look at his last 7 games, he's had 22 points or more in 6 of those. Even in the blowout against the Steelers, he was still able to put up points. I think you lock button this guy and you look at the Falcons, 120 plus rushing yards to opposing running backs in 4 of their last 6. I think he's a great play. But I also, here it is again, but also, at 7,000, a nice minimum price guy. He's not high, he's not low. Marlon Mack. I mean, if you look at just what the Giants have done against the run lately, they've been absolutely abysmal. Since the beginning of Week 8, this team has given up 113 rushing yards to opposing running backs in every single game except one. And last week, Tennessee put up 205 rushing yards and 2 scores against them. So this is unbelievable production that they're giving up. Basically, once Snacks Harrison left the field for the Giants, they've been absolutely abysmal. I think Marlon Mack's a fine play. I think if you want to play Marlon Mack in your running back 1 slot this week, just so you can pay up for those high-priced running or wide receivers that we're going to just drool over here in a minute, I think it's going to be a very, very smart way to build your lineup. So cheap price running backs. Actually have some diamonds in the rough here. Late and see, what do you love?
Well, the chalk play is going to be Jamal Williams.
Absolutely.
Like, he is the only running back. He can beat Bibbs. They can beat Bibbs on Monday. So Jamal Williams, basically, it's stupid almost. He don't play.
He's it.
Like, he is the guy for $1,800. But go up quite a bit from that, though. Tariq Cohen in San Francisco, I think a lot this week.
Oh, yeah.
Because the past couple of weeks he struggled. So he got 10, 12 points being colder. But out of San Francisco where it's never cold. And I think it's going to be a Tariq Cohen game. I can see him just catching, screen pass, taking 50 yards for a touchdown. Don't know why. Love Tariq Cohen this week.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give you the chalk play and why it makes so much sense. Jamal Williams, 5,800. Aaron Jones, now on the IR. So it's basically, like Leighton said, Kapri Bibbs and Jamal Williams. But you see, Williams is actually still productive. Like, last week he played the Bears, who's one of the toughest defenses to play if you're a running back. 97 total yards in that game with a score. And I know that the Jets' run D looks pretty good on paper, but they give up big play potential. And if you give the guy the ball, he's probably going to see 20 total touches in this game. If he gets that much volume, the potential to have the big play will be there. I do like Tariq Cohen, seeing that like the 49ers aren't one of those teams you can just basically just pound the rock up the middle with. Like, you have to kind of get cute with it. And Tariq Cohen's that guy for the Bears that they get cute with all the time. So I do like that play a lot. So Leighton C, I said we're going to drool over wide receivers because I don't think you can pick a bad option this week. At the top, where are you going?
So, there I am, my lunch break, making some lineups. I come across this guy, and I had a revelation, all the way over him, I just love this guy. And it's DeAndre Hopkins. He ain't 100, highest price on the board, but he is just a man on fire. Only person who stops him is Brock Osweiler. 34 points last week. Before that, 4 weeks of not so great games, but this week at Philadelphia, and again, they need to win. Get 31st ranked passing defense. I love DeAndre Hopkins this week. He is my play of the season. Huge monster game for DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to have him more than any running back. He is this week's Ezekiel Elliott for me.
Yeah, I really do like DeAndre Hopkins. I think that he's going to be an absolute star this week, which he was just a week ago. And the Texans, they're fighting for that number, I guess it would be number 2 seed, number 1 seed maybe if some stuff really works out in their favor. So it's like a must-win for them. But I'm actually going to go with Davante Adams, 8,500. Guys, he's the number 1 wide receiver on the slate. He's coming in with 100 yards or a score in every single game this season. And, since Mike McCarthy left, his target shares actually went up. Since McCarthy's been gone, 13, 11, and 13. The Jets are coming in allowing 44.8 points per game to wideouts over the last 5 and have given up 200 receiving yards in 8 of their 14 games this season and a touchdown in all but 3. And if we know anything about the Packers offense, if there's a wide receiver that's going to catch a touchdown, it's going to be Davante Adams. I think that he is the safest play on the board, hands down. Wide receiver, there's some diamonds out there. You just got to dig for them, I think. There's some guys there at the bottom that I really, really like. Leighton, see where you lean them.
Well, see, in my opinion, there are 3 guys that all come together that I like a lot this week. The first one is Robert Foster, 6,000 at New England. Good matchup. I don't like Josh Allen because I think Belichick's going to do that bullseye defense and shut him down running the football. But he can't throw it that well to win the game for that. But when he does throw it out faster. Oh yeah, I like Alshon Jeffrey. Him and Nick Foles just have something good going. I think they just get each other. But my favorite guy is Jarvis Landry. Drake, he came on this show and said he, quote, wasn't that good.
Yes.
He's had games of 13, 22, and 8 targets.
Yes.
So he's been getting the ball thrown his way a lot. He's been scoring points recently. Playing Cincinnati. Terrible defense. Jarvis Landry this week is my chief wide receiver play of the week.
I actually have two for us this week. First, I'm going to go up with Philip Dorsett. He's 4,600. Don't get crazy with him, but sprinkle him in here and there, if you're running out of cash. With games that Josh Gordon had played this season, Philip Dorsett was only seeing his high target volume was 3. Before they got Josh Gordon, he was getting about 7 targets a game, and he was a playable fantasy option. So I do think that Philip Dorsett, he's not going to get in there and replicate numbers that Josh Gordon's going to give you, but he's going to see a similar target share. I really think that Philip Dorsett's going to go out there this weekend and get at least 6-7 targets. And at 4,600, what really more can you be asking for at that price? Opportunities there, production is just a totally different thing. A guy who's productive at home, though, is Traquan Smith, 5,100. Guys, this is a sheer gut pick here. 6 targets, 2 catches, 15 yards. That's his last 3 games combined. But if you look at his home games, his prior 3 games that he had played at home, 157 yards, 1 score. 23 yards, 1 score. 111 yards, 2 scores. That's 20 points per outing at home in his last 3. I think Traquan Smith, he's the guy at the bottom price that has a huge upside this week in a game that I think will be high scoring. And if you look at what the Saints need to have happen in order for that offense to explode, is an unsung hero like Traquan Smith to come up and give them a big game, and I think that will be one of the focal points of the offense coming into this week. So tight end, latency, we do it a little different. We don't go high and low. We just give you our best options, and who do you like?
Dude, tight end's so bad.
Tight end is so bad.
It's terrible.
Dude.
I feel like I could pick any player and just get a chance of getting 20. Zach Ertz this week, best on the board.
This sums up tight ends this year. George Kittle against Denver. George Kittle, he had 7 catches, 210 yards, 1 score, all but a lock to break the tight end receiving yards in a game. In the second half, he doesn't even get a catch.
Didn't get a catch.
Dude, that game right there sums up tight ends. They are so volatile this season, and you really cannot predict what the hell's going to happen.
Yeah, but like they said, I felt like I could pick, Chris Herndon and for just to give about as Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz can't play with Nick Foles. George Kittle for Chicago. Gronk, almost dead. So basically, look at Eric Ebron again. He was hurt last week. Right now, he's not on an injury report, but he did not practice yesterday. Practiced fully today. Basically, he's the guy there. Last week, on a 38 snap, he was hurt. Still 96% routes run. So I like him a lot. And if OBJ's out again, Evan Ingram gets a lot of targets. But like I said, it's a crapshoot at this point.
Yeah, no, it is totally a crapshoot. Like you said, dude, if I gave you the option of, Trey Burton or David Njoku, you would think that they're going to be about similar production.
Yeah.
But there's about 10 guys between the two of them that you can choose from until you get from one price to the other. So I hate to pull at straws at this point and just go with a high-priced option like Zach Ertz or George Kittle. I think I'm going to be in the same boat with you. If OBJ's out, I'm going Evan Ingram. But if OBJ plays, I'm probably going to go just with Eric Ebron. I said last week that I'd play Gronk anytime he's under 6,600. Gronk didn't look right, but guess what I'm going to do this week? I'm going to still roll him out there and pray for a touchdown. So I think that those 3 guys are in play. I think that if OBJ does play, Evan Ingram kind of gets wiped out of your equation. So let's just go Eric Ebron or Gronk and just pray for a tutty. It's very bizarre. I don't think I've seen a position be this odd basically ever in fantasy history other than kicker.
It's so bad.
Latency, defense. Give me your best shot.
Well, normally I like to give you a cheap defense, and if you want to go that route, I guess Dallas for 3,700 would be just value, because Winston likes throwing some picks, and Dallas defense has been really good all season. They'll get 23 points back-to-back games, but not a bad matchup. But honestly, it's Chicago. It's $5,000, but it's Chicago. They've scored 170 points this year. That rank, I think, 50-ish overall. So, putting San Francisco on the road, Chicago, man.
Yeah, I'm 100% all in on Chicago this week. I mean, Leighton, you hit it right on the head, dude. If I asked you right now, we know that Kenny Golladay has had a great fantasy season. Who scored more points this year, Kenny Galladay or the Bears defense?
Chicago has. Like, I looked at all this yesterday. Like, they just scored more points, and it's $500. You might as well just throw it out there.
Yeah, and everybody's been treating Tariq Cohen almost. He's a definite running back too. They've even talked about him being borderline running back 1, and he's only averaging 0.7 more points per game than the Chicago Bears defense. And, you couple that with getting Nick Mullins. I know that they have, if you look at just sheer stats, Nick Mullins doesn't get sacked a whole lot, but he's also played some pretty bad defenses against, as far as rushing the passer. I think that the Bears kind of just do what they've done over the past few games. And, I mean, you look at Green Bay. They played Green Bay, only allowed 17 points. Played the Rams, only allowed 6 points. Like, they're not going to be able to score a ton of points. Basically, we're picking the Bears just because the 49ers are going to have a hard time moving the ball, and we're praying for touchdowns yet again, just like we are at tight end. So, I think the Bears are the obvious pick there. So, wait and see. Big money flops. Where are guys at the big top of the options that we see falling flat on their face this week?
So, Leonard Fournette could have a humongous week, but we know he's banged up. No will try to play him. It's going to be that game's going to be a blowout. Don't love Todd Gurley. Stick on Barkley. He'll probably a good game, but I don't love him. Julio Jones banged up. James Conner's still hurt. OBJ's hurt. Basically all the guys I don't like are just guys that have been injured or just haven't practiced that much. And another guy, Minnesota wide receivers, I'm off of them.
Yeah, I'm completely off Minnesota wide receivers because last week, they've kind of been hurting. Their production, and I really think it's because the offensive line, they don't have time to get open. They are very, very good. They just don't have time to get open, and they're just running the ball out of sheer threat of Kirk Cousins taking another sack. So I think I'm going to be off the wide receivers there in Minnesota. I think that's a good call. But then again, man, I'm looking at the top, and I really don't see guys that are just going to flop. I mean,
there aren't many you're digging for these guys.
DeAndre Hopkins plus matchup at wide receiver. Antonio Brown plus matchup, Julio Jones plus matchup, Michael Thomas plus matchup. I'm going all the way down on wide receivers, and the only one I could see not having a great game is Adam Thielen, and that is 8 guys down. And then if you look at the running back slot, there are guys up at the top. I'm a little scared to play Gurley because I do think that if they get up, he's just going to be not even out there. At this point, why rush Todd Gurley?
And not be a decoy. There's no point.
Yeah, don't even decoy him. So I'm going to be off of that. I think Saquon's going to struggle a little bit, but not much, against Indianapolis. But the only place that I really see guys that I'm just not in love with this week would probably be Cam Newton, and that's because he's out. I think that the high-priced options are kind of right on this week. So I think, like we said earlier, there's going to be a ton of scoring, and I think we should just adjust to that. So we just got to go with the highest ceiling instead of just going with safe floors this week. Mm-hmm. So wait and see. Meet stud alert. Quarterbacks going over 30. Running backs going over 20. Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, all skill players going over 20. I think we called it last week. No quarterbacks went over 30?
No one did.
Good call. But I think the 2 times we've said that, it's happened.
Yeah, this week I can see it happening. With 2 or 3 guys that I like. But as far as flex guys goes, dude, really... everybody. Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Monte Adams, Michael Thomas, James Conner, if he plays. Alvin Kamara, Juju, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette. All those guys I like a lot.
Yeah, I do think that at the quarterback position, I think the 2 guys that I'm really going to lean on, guys I'd already talked about, Drew Brees, Big Ben. Running back, I think Marlon Mack is... I would almost pencil Marlon Mack in today for 20 points. I think that Christian McCaffrey has the potential to go over 30, but I could also see them just focusing all their... the defense just basically saying, hey, as long as this guy doesn't beat us, we're going to win this game. And I could see him getting held to basically nothing. And then at the wide receiver position, I'm going to go ahead and plant my flag in the sand. I think the 5 highest priced options are all going to go over 20 points this week. And then you skip a few spots down to Juju, and I think that he's right in line to do the same. So I think the only one that I'm going to go out on a gut pick and say that's going to go over 20 is Traquan Smith, because I think that he's going to have basically a lapse in the defense like we saw at Pittsburgh last week with Chris Hogan, where they just basically didn't guard him. Mm-hmm. They were so focused on stopping the big play threats in Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara that he's just going to end up wide open and end up scampering in for the 60-yard bomb. So I think that he's the only guy that's really going to be off of everybody's radar that could go for 20 this week.
One more thing before we move on to the lineup. If you play the full slate and include the Sunday night game, Russell Wilson's going to have a monster game.
Oh, absolutely.
At Seattle, win the game in the playoffs, terrible defense, he's going to have a 30-point game. Huge. Monster game for Russell Wilson. So, if you play that slate, just go ahead and lock me in your quarterback spot.
Yeah, I agree there. And I think that they're even going to win that game. And in fact, he's actually only 8,300. So if you were going to play I would put this as a pro tip. I think you even include that Monday game and just go ahead and roll Russell Wilson out there to be your QB because he's going to go off. Like, this is his spot. But our official sauce on the side lineup, it's going to make you cringe a little bit. It's a cringeworthy lineup, but I think in a week like this where we have to kind of get crazy a little bit to come out on top, I think this is the lineup that could possibly do it. And I'm going right off the top with Nick Foles. And you might cringe a little bit to that, but I had said it earlier how Houston's defense has not looked the same over the past few weeks against the pass. And, if Nick Foles, he's a big game player. Coming back at home, I think that there's a potential there. Like, he's going to definitely hit his value of 12 points. Like, if he gets 12, it gets you value. I do think that he's going to flirt with 20 and maybe even eclipse that. And then I'm going to running back. Highest I'm going to go is Marlon Mack right here. 7,000. This is the juiciest matchup he could get. For Marlon Mack, as just a sheer, just run it down your throat runner, Marlon Mack, this is the best position we could ask for. Home game against the Giants. They're abysmal against the run since they got rid of Snacks Harrison. Gotta love it. And then I'm actually going to go with back-to-back Packers here. I know that the offense hasn't looked that great, but, I'm getting a Jamal Williams at 5,800. All he has to do is get the end zone. Get me into the end zone. You hit value. I think that he's going to have a game. I don't think he's going to do just all of his work on the ground. I think it's going to be a mix of ground and air. I do not think it's out of the realm of possibility for this guy to end the game with over 100 yards and a score. Then DeAndre Hopkins. Latency said it for me. I don't have to say anything else. DeAndre Hopkins, probably going to be your wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 this week. Devontae Adams. I said that I'm going back-to-back Packers, so I have Devontae Adams, Jamal Williams. Guys, they're going to be the only people that probably score on that team. Like, if you think of who's the most likely guys on the field to score a touchdown for the Packers, who are probably going to score 4 or 5 touchdowns this week, I would have to say it's Jamal Williams, Devontae Adams. Those are the only 2 guys that I really see finding the end zone. And then I'm actually going with Juju Smith-Schuster. I said that I really like the matchup for Antonio Brown. Well, I have to love it for Juju, a guy who's been just as effective as Antonio Brown, but we're getting him at a premium. I think Juju's the way to go. The Saints, they can give up the big play at any time. The Saints are going to put up points. They're going to have to rebuttal. I really do like Juju here. Tight end, Evan Ingram. This comes with an asterisk only if OBJ does not play. Then, I'm bringing it back. I like points in the New Orleans-Pittsburgh game. Traquan Smith, this is my gut pick. If this guy gets you 20 this week, this lineup will win you the big money. I can promise you that because we're coming back with the Bears. Guys, this is a running back 2. This is a wide receiver 2. And we're getting them as a freaking defense for 5,000. Don't get cute. Take the Bears with a big smile on your face. So wait and see. This week, is there anything that you're going to look at whenever you're building your lineups, more so than weeks past?
Well, that's what I'm going to look for it, but I was already going to start with the defense, and I'm going to pick my quarterback, Dak or Watson, gets my dollars right. Then we'll right to the tight end. I'm going to determine who to pick tight end. Right now, Eric Ebron, that could change. Because this is how Travis Kelce fucked us like a little month ago.
Yes.
He was the only one that scored and nobody should have scored.
Yes.
So, basically, this is another week, I feel like. If a guy in that gets 25 points, no one else might have 25 points from a tight end, and that's how you win. So you really got to dive into the tight ends a lot this week. And after that, I'm going to lock button under Hopkins, go down. My pick, Marius Thomas, Fox, somebody like that, get some money back. But literally, basically, a lot of good matchups. Like, I don't think we have enough matchups. I don't think I make enough lineups to play what I want to play. Is my fear.
Yeah, no, I'm going to put a lot of lineups out there just with different variations because there is going to be a ton of points scored this week. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and plant the flag in the sand. I think that this week will be the highest scoring week maybe not in this week's history of the NFL or in this season, but I think this might be the highest scoring week in NFL history. Everything leans towards the other team's favor. If a team is really, really good against the run and they're shitty against the pass, well, they're playing an offense that is absolutely awesome against passing the ball, but cannot run the football for a lick. So I think that this is a rarity in FanDuel where we're going to have basically like the top of the winning lineups are going to be flirting with 200 points. Like, I am not going to be surprised one bit if that is the case this week. I'm going to predict biggest scoring week in NFL history. But you know what's going to happen, Leighton. You already said it. George Kittle is going to pop off for 170 yards, 2 scores, kill our Bears defense.
He's going to be like 5% owned.
Yep.
And that 5% is going to win every cash game. They're going to take all the top spots in the tournaments. And that's me winner. And then next week, I'll be right here bitching about George Kittle scoring 32 points when he should have scored like 8.
Yeah. And Leighton, make sure you save that as a file because we're going to play that exact sound clip next week whenever it happens. And Leighton C. and I will be back on this podcast bitching and crying just a week from today. So, Dippers, good luck. Let's win some money. You got to play some dirty-looking plays. And as always, Dippers, for Drake, for Leighton C., stay saucy.